Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday morning session. Yeah, it's Friday again. Week has gone by, and it's lovely to have this week with you, shared with you, and been in such good company. Today, we're going to talk about the myth of letting go, and maybe we can put some light upon that, shed some light upon that, shed some insight upon that. What letting go actually can mean, what it can be for us, and what it means in the context of clinging. So, one last time, the usual framework set up for us to be happy and safe with each other. There is the chat box, and this is the place where we create community and hold the space for each other. And you did a lovely job as usual this week to do so. Very much appreciation for your contributions, as much those via email. I'm a bit behind with answering. It has been a bit of a up and down week, and my hair looks accordingly. Up and down week family wise, but we're going through lovely. And I will get in touch with all of you who wrote me an email. Just give me some time. And if you wrote something in the text box and I missed it, please put it there again. Yeah, so that I can respond potentially to it today. And even if after any responses or wish for personal support one-to-one after this week, just drop me an email. I'll post it again at the end of the session today. So, usual and last reminder, these sessions are based on donations. So if you wish to give me as a teacher or Sangha Life, or both of us, that is how we share your dana. So I think it's 70% which go to Sangha Life, 30% which go to the teacher, to shed some transparency on that. That is how your dana is distributed, so that this platform can continue to run and provide this space for us and provide this ability to be with each other, which is really a lovely opportunity. So at the end, you'll see the link, and whatever feels appropriate and doable for you is very much welcomed. Thank you. Good. Now, let's first talk about letting go and then feel into it. Yeah. Even if you're very new to the Dharma and to Buddhism and even to mindfulness practice, you might have heard that little phrase, let it go. And some teachers use it in that context, and you get the suggestion of, oh, just let it go, just let it go. And you hear that from friends as well. Yeah, it is shifting into our popular language, the advice from a friend, oh, just let it go, it's not that important. You make yourself unhappy, just let it go. Yeah. But what does that actually mean? Let's spend this morning exploring this little phrase. What does it mean to let go of something? And actually who? Who on earth is doing the letting go? Yeah. That can be so confusing. To understand a part of it, let's look into the clinging again with a question, and now we're deep into the realm and the teaching of self and non-self. Who is doing the clinging? Who is deciding to cling and hold on to and have an urge and have a thirst and have a drive and an impulse? Yeah. Are you, yeah, I'm addressing the self here. Are you willingly creating and maintaining the clinging and the urge and the push and the pull? Yeah. Are you, if there is a strong urge, and maybe you found one this week while we were talking about it, are you making this? Are you deliberately deciding, creating an urge, a tanha, pressure? Yeah. If there is a strong pressure, an urge, almost a sense of urgency, necessity to be different from who you are you making this? Yeah. I find it very interesting who we attach this urge to. Sometimes we say the others make me do this, the circumstances make me do this. I myself make me do this. But if we deeply look into it, there's almost like layers and layers of that, where there might be an appropriate wish, a beautiful desire, a healthy need. The others may express their needs and their desires and their wishes, and then something starts contracting, and clinging and pushing and pulling. And if we are not very aware, that gets attached to someone, something, some circumstance, and myself. If only I would stop doing this. What happens? What happens if we look through it through the lens the Buddha suggested and say, well, this is a dynamic, it's a moving dynamic which has causes and conditions to it. There are those puzzling situations when we become very awake for that. Maybe you had that this week, where you were aware of a craving, a contraction, a clinging in the beingness, in the heart mind, and you were aware of how unpleasant it is, and you couldn't stop it. Maybe couldn't even stop it from overspilling into some action. So where is the I in this whole equation? I find that a beautiful moment. Shortly sharing this story, I shared with you on another occasion already. I was teaching a meta retreat, a retreat on the heart qualities. And we sat with those qualities quite a while, and we explored them. And the participant which came to me in the one-to-one conversation, she shared how she had been all day connected to a very broad and spacious feeling of friendliness towards all beings which came to her mind. And she was very happy about that. It felt very freeing, very open, very soft heart, in a very open state, very pleasant, she said. And then came the mosquito. In a split of a second, the hand reached out and slapped the mosquito dead. And she said to me, where was that coming from? Where was that coming from? There was all this kindness within me, and in a split second, some reflex, some contraction, I don't want it to bite me because that would be so unpleasant, so slap goes the hand. Where is the I? Where is the I in these things? We equal the I, the self, a lot of the time with willpower. Willpower, and we measure the quality, sometimes the worth of the self, of the I. We measure that by the amount of willpower we have. How much control? That is another measurement. How much control do I have over this body, this mind, these thoughts, whatever it is, my actions? And yet, when we look deeply into clinging, when we look deeply into tanha, into this wish to let go, we notice that there are moments in which these urges, these waves, these drives, these impulses, they are way bigger than the container of awareness, way bigger than the willpower we potentially can set against it. So there are limits to willpower and limits to resolve when we talk about clinging and craving. And that is something to explore and to be humbled by, to really be humbled by. Again, this insight is asking for a middle way, because we could drop into not feeling responsible then, to say, well, if there is no I and there is no self and there are those strong impulses just shooting through, I'm out. I am literally out because I've deconstructed the self, so thank you, good night. I can't do anything about that. The Buddha said, not true either. Not true either. It's true that most of the time we're not deliberately engaged in clinging, but it's also true that there are ways and practices, this whole path, in fact, around being with, meeting, working with this form of urge and drivenness and impulses, which will create more spaciousness and more ability to engage with it. And we had this image of containing the fire and using the energy of clinging, craving, wanting something in an appropriate way, to channel the energy, so to say. So it's neither full responsibility nor is it irresponsibility. It's a dance. It's a dance with this energy in all our humbleness, yeah, and in all our compassion, which we can bring up to say, wow, it's something to be aware, and to be aware of impulses and urges and unpleasantness and drive within, which we can see to be unpleasant and can see to be unhelpful at times, and to notice, whew, sometimes this wave is so strong, sometimes this inner critic is so strong, it is so painful, yeah. Sometimes this urge to get something and become someone is so strong. I feel like sitting on the backseat of my car and being driven by something else. And for me, an important place to develop compassion there. So some things we can do, we discussed this week already, and I want to add a couple more just in the back of your minds, but you will literally see it's all of our practice. It's all of what you're already doing. It's not that I'm telling anything new this week. I'm just putting it, so to say, in the framework of the third noble truth. One thing we said yesterday is to really develop some honesty, looking through the stories of our clinging. Yeah, through this pushes and pulls. Can I notice a push and pull for what it is? And develop a healthy sense of disbelief in the stories around it. Yeah. Am I willing to see through those stories? Yeah. I think we can do better. We can do this in a more easy way when seeing through the stories of clinging doesn't come immediately around with this club of guilt. So now you've seen through, now you should be able to let go. Nah, not so easy. Yeah? Yes, I've seen through. I notice how that this urge to do something, get something, become someone is containing some suffering within it. But I also cut myself some slack because I didn't choose this clinging. I'm on my way to learn how to deal with it. But it's not that in the moment I notice I'm clinging, I can just through my intellect snap my fingers and say, well, done with it. Hallelujah. I saw it. Now it's over. Yeah. If it only were that easy. Yeah. If it only were that easy, we would all have much less clinging in our lives. To be aware of the stories, to be aware of the price we pay for clinging. And sometimes it's just that, you see, I noticed some clinging sometimes in the evening, for example. I had a long day with the family. I took care of a lot of people, whatever it is. And my mind is clinging to the idea of, now I need some time for myself. Yeah. Underlying, again, beautiful desire to say some recovery, some rest, some restoration of energy, beautiful. But if this forms into a form of clinging, saying, okay, the only way I can do this is by watching, I don't have Netflix, but there are other opportunities to watch TV on the computer. If this is the only way and it keeps me up to, I don't know, 12 o'clock, midnight, and I will be very tired in the next day. Yeah, it has had some price to it. I pay it on the next day. Being grumpy, being tired, being emotionally wobbly. Yeah. Am I aware of that price? Am I aware of that price? The more I allow myself to feel ouch the next day, to say, oh, wasn't the brightest of ideas, wasn't the brightest of clingings yesterday, the more likely I feel over the path of my practice, it has become to say no to the clinging. I was so in touch with the price of this clinging. I don't really pay your allure. Yeah, I don't really believe the allure the next time this clinging comes up. I don't fully fall for it anymore. So we all and now let's add to that a bit more flash, so that maybe this can help me also. I feel letting go comes along with a lot of sense of guilt. I should be able to let go. I find guilt in that way is freezing, is debilitating. So let's put a bit more understanding why it's not so easy to let go of craving at times. If we experienced in the past some form of deprivation need, a boundary. Yeah, our heart minds might be much more likely to overshoot in its attempt to compensate for the past. The shadow of the past deprivation. The heart mind has learned there is a possibility. It has learned that I will go without safe connection, that I will go without enough entertainment, rest, food for some, safety, spaciousness, permission for independence, you name it, just any need. Past deprivation, the heart mind has learned, we can go into a place of having too little, which is downright painful. Now the heart mind has learned that and says, I'm going to avoid at any cost that this is going to happen again, and it overshoots. And you might notice this craving from the past. It's almost like a good attempt of the heart mind has hardened and crystallized into a defensive mechanism, which is just wanting to make sure that this is never going to happen again. And it's not something of this present moment, because in this present moment connection, we can go with a little less at times, and then a little more at another time. And a need is always satisfied in a very waving way. It's not that it's full and then it stays full. It will go up and down and up and down, and that's okay. But only the feeling of a little too less, or even the idea of too less agitates the craving again, saying, oh, alarm, So can we notice this shadow of the past? And have all the compassion it needs, but saying, you're something old. I am aware with my insight and my vipassana that you have nothing to do with this moment, really. You were just woken up by this feeling of a little too less rest, a little too less connection, etc. That is something which makes the past situations, past hunger, past having too little of something, makes the heart mind much more liable to forms of craving. 1. And 2, a hungry, unstable, unsettled mind. Just too little sleep, too little rest, too much sensory input. All of that makes it more likely that a heart mind develops and comes up with, and then holds, and then clings around these urges, pushes, and pulls. So on a day where you had too little sleep, on a day where you had a lot to do and a lot of input, much more likely for the mind to crave and to cling. Can we see this dependent arising? Okay, I hope that gives some idea that we can't sit here and simply say, let go of the clinging and the craving. The Buddha actually I can't find any passage where he said that. He has a beautiful teaching in one of his discourses where he suggests actually a whole bundle, a whole toolkit to protect and guide and help the heart mind dealing with these cravings and clingings. And I just share those suggestions he had so that you see, wow, it's all about practice, really. The one is, he suggested that we pay attention to what we pay attention to. Because what we pay attention to, that might bring up more clinging and craving. I just really love to look at the advertisements we're bombarded with. It all links to that place of, I don't have enough, I'm not enough. We are bombarded with messages all day long. So if you go into the city, if you watch TV, if we are at any place with advertisement, even reading self-help books, and can you really listen to these hooks of not enoughness and how they unsettle the heart mind? What we pay attention to matters, not because we're good Buddhists or meditators or mindfulness practitioners, but because we need to keep our heart mind safe and protected from these urges and pushes. Another one, and maybe related, is to protect the sense doors. We had it about boredom this week, and how easily, like, the mind goes hankering around saying, well, where could we find something to go to and engage with and have more? And So to protect our sense doors, what am I looking at? What am I listening to? How much sensory input am I allowing in? Yeah. How much rest do I allow body, heart, and mind through the senses? And sense door, the Buddha included thinking. Yeah, I love to think. I prepare all those sessions and I read books and all these things, but there is an amount of too much where I really notice the mind is getting into overdrive. And that is when I decide not to think so much. Or like on a day to day, like today when I feel pretty tired, I notice the thinking process doesn't make much sense today. So not the day for philosophical investigations. Yeah, maybe tomorrow. The third thing is his invitation to reflect what we really need. And that, for me, a lot of the time brings up a lot of contentment and gratitude because I have a lot. Yeah. And that is a beautiful place to rest and settle the heart and to say, wow, I have a lot. I have caring and loving friends, and I have a warm home. And that is actually a lot of what I really need. And then, yeah, there are a couple of things I desire, but I notice that I can hold that lightly. And that's another form of protection. Fourth one, resilience with the unpleasant. If you want to, I'll put them into the chat box later. Resilience with the unpleasant experience. So that not every unpleasant experience is like these things you make fire with, doesn't come the word, like something which brings up a flame, yeah. Not every unpleasant experience is the spark for a clinging. Can I just contain that? Yeah. Can I just contain that and saying, yeah, unpleasant. I acknowledge that fully down to the bottom of my heart. This is unpleasant, and I hold it in awareness. Yeah. I'm not going to be inflamed so quickly. And then he said to avoid experience which might unbalance the heart mind. He said not to go to places and be in company where you know that your heart mind might lose its its balance. Yeah, what can I? We can't avoid every and we shouldn't avoid every challenging experience. But are there some things which are too big for you at the moment to meet without losing a sense of balance? Yeah. And now the sixth, I think, is willpower. It has its place, but you see, willpower is a sixth of the whole practice, not all of it. Yeah. Consciously decide what you do not want to engage with and put it down. A sixth of the whole practice. And finally, the seventh is to develop those beautiful, nourishing, supportive qualities which nourish and stabilize the heart mind. Yeah, to, like we did the past days, friendliness you mentioned, and compassion and care and spaciousness and all those beautiful qualities which nourish and stabilize. So none of this is saying I stop clinging. Yeah, maybe that is something I want to bring across as the last point to make. None of these seven are saying I stop, I let go. Yeah, but it's seven different ways to respond to a clinging. Maybe we need a couple of them at times, and we have a whole toolkit to try out with a clinging. Yeah. Do I need to protect my sense doors? Does it help to reflect on what I really need? Can I practice some resilience just with this unpleasant experience at the bottom of the clinging? Yeah, etc., etc. And what does really help? So we have a whole toolkit. We don't rely simply on this idea of I should let go of that. Yeah. So I hope that you have found this week an inspiration to look at your clinging not as something to beat yourself up about, but to recognize it as something which the human heart mind is likely to do a million times, and that out of a care and kindness for yourself, you say, I want to really at least contain that so that it does not get at the driving wheel so much, because I notice that is not doing me any good, really. Yeah. And then not to come from a place of guilt and actually a form of urge to change yourself, but like really to take it step by step and to learn about it and to be wise about it and to try out very many different tools we have. Okay, thank you for listening. Now let's practice together. So I post the 7 on the list later after the meditation. Now let's practice, and maybe we find a couple of these this morning. Find yourself a way to sit and stand and lie down and walk around and dance. All the opportunities to practice. Maybe keeping the eyes open or close them. Maybe shifting the bodies, swaying, rocking, gently moving. Making this whole settling into meditation a process which doesn't have to be quick. It could be all you're doing this morning. You might want to check whether you need a stronger form of anchor this morning, touching something with your hands, feeling the cool, warmth, the edges of something, the quality of the surface you're touching, or touch your body with some kindness, touching different places of the body for you to allow to feel it, to really connect to it, whatever feels like a good place for you to start with. And then let go of the words which were there before. Heart, mind takes in as much information and impulse as it needs. And we invite our minds to let go of the rest of the words. Not really important now. And with this sense of care and kindness, as much as you can summon up this morning, just checking in with, for example, the body. How is this bodily feel this morning? Does it feel kangaroo-like? One experience popping up after the next. Does it feel okay to be within the body, or is it rather unpleasant? Do you have one field of experience which is particularly obvious? Or do you notice many different sensations, experiences? Maybe you already feel a little tug on your attention to take care of something or do something about the unpleasantness. Fix me, hold me, be aware of me, make this different, do that. Be more mindful, be more focused. Just notice those tugs and pulls. And then we shift the attention again and we bring it to some anchor. Doesn't really matter what you choose. Feet on the floor, hands holding each other. Listen to something, watch something, feel your breathing. And just see how easy or how hard it is for your mind this morning to settle and to rest with something. No judgment there, only a piece of information. You can say, wow, heart, mind, attention is really a difficult place today. Can't settle in with anything. It's hopping, is drawn to something. Thank you for showing me that mindfulness. And now you being the shepherd of body, heart and mind, what can you do? You can't change it altogether from one moment to the next. But how can you accompany? What could you feed back to body, heart and mind, which would be supportive? Maybe not a game changer, but a little nourishing quality. What would it need? You could say, well, what it really would need is to find some landing place for this attention. Maybe a gentle rocking movement. Maybe the hands touching each other. Maybe even massaging each other. Providing a landing space. Or maybe it's this form of active care through breathing or through touch to really feed back to body, heart and mind. I care for you. Every breath could come from this intention to care for body, heart and mind. breath embodying some warmth brought to the body, or being this stillness, this rocking gentle rhythm which the attention can settle into every now and then. We don't expect it to work miracles. It's much more than like caring for some dear wild creature. It will take a while for it to settle down. It might be agitated, it might not feel safe, it might be hungry for something or touched by something. And it can come with all this due respect and care to say, let me see what helps you this morning. And we don't know, do we? We really don't know a lot of the time. And that's okay. We try it out, we feel it out, we come back to it. We watch a bit and observe what happens now. We really have no rush to get it right. And sometimes all we can do is to be there. There is a storm waging in the body, in the heart mind. And it's not ours to bring to silence. We accompany it, we are there with the storm, maybe having a bit of spaciousness around it so that it doesn't take us from our feet. Or we just acknowledge getting involved, trying to do something feels already like too much. Well, then back off a little. I'm there, I care, and I do so within a lot of spaciousness. You might notice how something within feels very unsure about not doing anything to solve this and improve this and even analyze this, understand this. So yeah, but we have to do something. Can we be a little daring this morning and say, well, I'm not sure about that. Maybe the best thing is to leave it alone and leave it there, and just to hold it company. Spacious, broad, wide company. Let's end this meditation by turning to our hearts, to our beingness with a lot of compassion. It is just not easy to be a human and have those impulses and urges, these drives and pushes and pulls. It's not easy to notice how we can't control and contain them all. It's not easy to acknowledge that our willpower is too small at times and that it really takes patience and persistence and showing up again and again. So maybe a hand on the heart and some acknowledgement that it's not easy at times. Life is not easy, and what our heart minds make out of it sometimes isn't easy either. So, some compassion for the challenge of life. And some appreciation that we're here anyways. That we have the courage and the strength to show up again and again. That is beautiful, isn't it? May we all be well. May we all have moments where we feel nourished and connected. May we all have moments where we feel safe, where we feel we belong. Maybe we'll have moments of lightness and ease and deep stillness within. Gently start moving, wake up your body. Do whatever you need to make the transition back to the screen, and I will be waiting here for you. So, first thing to do, I'll put these 7 aspects of dealing with care, with clinging into the chat box. You should see them now, and I'll send them to George later so he can post them on Connect as well. Good. Maybe you would like to share one last time with us all, really, how this practice resonated with you, whether there were any challenges or resistances you were facing, whether there was anything you found helpful, either today or during this entire week. Anything you would like to take away with you so that this week gets a bit of a character of sustainability, that we don't just take in teaching after teaching, but really some gem. And if it's only one thing someone said, one thing you noticed about yourself, what would be worth taking away from this week? So up to you and your typing. And as it takes a while, I'll type the email address again. Please feel free to be in touch, especially if you feel maybe a bit wobbly in some cases after such a practice and need some or wish for some support. And once more, the upcoming opportunity to practice together. Okay, enough about me. Let's see what you're up to. Jasmine is writing, my craving is based in something ancient and older that I'm not completely in control of. Beautiful to acknowledge that. That is one of the cases where I would cut myself slack and just say, maybe do I really need to understand where it's coming from? Do I really is it helpful to know the story, or is it more helpful to know how to deal with it? And just to see that, well, it comes up in touch with something in the present, and to say, wow, this feels ancient, and this feels deep, and this feels old, and probably what comes up for me a bit powerful. Yeah, I see that. I know I will, grow in my capacity to be with it in ever more beautiful ways, and I have all humbleness in myself to say, I got my work cut out for me, and that is a process, and it takes time. Thank you, Jasmine. David is writing, thank you for the time and the dedication. Yeah, it's a pleasure. You're such a beautiful Sangha, so caring and curious and so open to sharing. It's really always a joy to be with you. Meryl is writing, the idea of spaciousness, not rushing into analysis or criticize. Yeah, beautiful, Meryl. Yeah, that is, sometimes we're not even aware of it, but that is a very subtle form of clinging as well, isn't it? To say, the mind feels particularly safe if it has a word for it, if it knows the context, if it can put intellectual padding, padding to some experience, and that is to allow it to just be with it in spaciousness. Totally different approach. Yeah. Steph is writing, today was beautiful, soothing, caring, heart, mind, embracing itself. This week has been deeply supportive to see the push and pull more clearly. Wonderful, Steph. That was what I hoped to share with you, and to make that hopefully a guilt-free process. I hear a lot of kindness and compassion in your words, so we might have worked towards that, and that is great. So we can go to the craving and the clinging and the push and the pull, but without this old pressure of I'm guilty of that and I should get rid of that. Beautiful. Now, another contribution. The sessions deepened my daily practice and created space between my heart, mind, and craving. Yeah, and looking forward to follow this process more. There is the curiosity we need. Now we're curious instead of feeling guilty about that craving and clinging. Great. So Heidi's writing, my main takeaway for this week is using the word experience. Yeah. The experience of having a red jacket is much more subtle, layered, and complex. I will be looking much more carefully at the experience behind the craving and the clinging. Wonderful, Heidi. Yeah. Again, a small shift of perspective sometimes can make all the difference. And experience is such a wide and beautiful field. Yeah. And even not to call it my experience, but just something which is forming up in the heart mind. Beautiful. Laura is asking whether I can explain protecting the sense doors. I can, Laura, but I think we should dedicate a whole session to that. So I might be bringing that up. That is actually something I note down for our next week. Protecting the sense doors. Laura, if you're interested, write me an email. I have written upon this already. Tanya's writing, being gentle and patient with myself is her takeaway. This is such an important reminder for me, and one I always need and always come across in your teachings. Yeah. Metta, the basic attitude of metta, just another shift of perspective. Everything changes when the warmth inside the mindfulness, we heat up the temperature just 2 or 3 degrees, and it makes all the difference in the way we practice. And the heart mind can be very resistant to take up that perspective. So this is why we come together as Sangha. We are reminding each other of helpful qualities. So someone asked for the sutta. It's Majjhima Nikaya 7, I think. Sarvasava Sutta. Sutta. It should be. I hope I spelled it correctly. Jackie, that should be the discourse you're looking for. If you can't find it, let me know. Drop me an email. Tim is writing that he got a reminder to trust a deeper instinct. Yeah, that is what the Buddha called Yoniso Manasikara. It's an awareness. It's a being grounded in contact with something in the depth of our being. Yeah, where underlying all these craving and clings, there is some source of deep wisdom within. And practice helps us to come into contact with that as well. So beautiful, Tim. So while you're typing, I can look up the link for the sutta, and I might have mixed up the title. Yeah. So you do a little exploration, or you drop me an email. It's MN2, I think. So Laura is writing, this week I have learned I can be comfortable with not being able to completely let go. Yeah, great. Yeah. Cut ourselves some slack and say, well, it might be a while until this craving goes. How do I be with this craving when it won't be away tomorrow? Yeah. Like the difference between a 100-meter sprint and a marathon. We need to run differently, else we hurt ourselves. Wendy is writing, I like paying attention to what I pay attention to. Yeah, great. And play with that. You can notice how, bring up the word experience again, every experience leaves an impact on your being. So after a while, and out of a deep sense of care, we can deeply say, no, I really don't want to pay attention to that because I feel, not because I shouldn't, but I really feel how that touches me. Yeah. Faith is taking away the insight that the inner critic is a form of clinging as well. Beautiful. Yeah. And isn't it then making total sense that not clinging is a deep form of care, to say, notice how painful that is. Yeah, how painful that is. And I gently, kindly want to unwrap the two tense holding hand, yeah, so that it can breathe again and move again and be a bit freed up. John is writing that he had a good week, a deep, nourishing week. Beautiful. I think I will be back sometime in April and we finish our exploration of the Four Noble Truths with the Eightfold Path and everything which comes to my mind around that. And I'm looking forward to being with you then. Lynn is writing, she appreciated the analogy of different drivers at the wheel, found that really helpful. Yeah, just to acknowledge those and hand over the wheel sometimes. Yeah, we can hand over the wheel. Yeah, it's not that self has to be at the steering wheel all the time and then gets all tired. Yeah, we can't do the road trip on our own. We need good drivers with us. And who can those qualities be? Yeah. So Rivka is writing, our tense situation is constant battle to not watch the news. Yeah, the news. Sorry, Rivka. Yeah, here we have the clinging. I could talk a lot about that. The attempt to be loyal and the attempt to care for the cruel things which are happening in our world. And that this wish, this beautiful wish for compassion and care and loyalty and being in touch with those who suffer, that this beautiful wish can turn into a clinging, say, well, the only way I see to do that is to watch the news, that at least shows that I'm not indifferent. And we hurt ourselves, we hurt ourselves by having only this outlet, so deep topic, Rivka, but there is a clinging in that too, and there's something to explore and to keep yourself safe and well. Thank you for sharing. Jenny's writing, about 5 years ago, I gave everyday food to a very badly hurt wild cat. Yeah. After 5 years, I still cannot pet the cat, but it is sitting sometimes next to me in the sun and closes its eyes. Oh, what a beautiful image. I take away this image for the relationship to my feeling body. Yeah, it helped a lot to take your image of the body being a wild animal that needs patience. Beautiful, Jenny. Yeah. And there is a clinging you let go of in that image as well. The clinging could be, well, I, self-importance here, need to make the wild cat my very best friend. Then I will have done well. Yeah. We let go of the clinging and see the beauty of the cat trusting you enough to sit close to you and close her eyes. Yeah. It's still feral. It's still a wild cat. Yeah. And maybe our heart might remain the same wild animals as well. Maybe we won't ever get them fully under control, but do we really need to? Yeah, do we really need to? Beautiful. So Helena and Gwen and David and Britta, oh, there is so much beauty in here and I can't answer it all. Thank you so much. Miriam is writing, my first time practicing with you. Thanks for being with us even in the midst of your own struggles with your family. It was deeply nourishing. Dharma teachers are human. You knew that? I have mood swings and I have our own heart mind to take care of, just like you do. And I find that inspiring, that it's not about overcoming all that and becoming perfect, but about ever deepening ways of getting insight into that and having compassion with that. And to have Kalyana Mitta. We are Kalyana Mitta for each other. The Buddha said, beautiful friends along the way. Yeah, not one on top which is perfect and the others hankering behind, but really going this path together. So I thank you so much for doing this with me this week. I'll let you go now and hope that you will be back at some time. Be in touch, drop me a message, especially for those of you who I haven't responded to. It's very much welcomed. Thank you so much, and hopefully see you, talk to you soon. Much love to all of you. Thank you.